on LoopNet and all just kind of cycle through my favorites of like, yep, texted all these people, and then I'll kick off the ones that like go off market. Because we talked about this too, of like you can kind of sometimes over organize rather than just like continuing to just find new ones.
Yeah, I kind of keep it simple, to be honest. Like I literally just like on Saturday, I was just had some downtime. I just pulled up Zillow when I was waiting, and I just saw this new apartment that just came up that I haven't saw before. So usually I'll kind of favorite it on Zillow's LoopNet, and then when you scroll down, you'll see like the listing agent's number. So I'll literally just copy it, and I just copy and paste my texts that I drafted before, and then I just text and follow up. So it's nothing fancy. Like if I just have a little bit
How
of
many minutes
downtime.
does it take you from seeing a new Zillow listing to sending the text?
Usually it's pretty fast. I mean, just happened. I was just like at the airport, so I was just scrolling there, but I couldn't text. So I just knew mental note. Okay, Monday when I'm back at work, if I have a break or lunchtime, draft up that text and do it. I ended up sending it, right when I got home here around 5. So it doesn't take me that long. Like to me, and it's kind of funny. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but I noticed that like when I was buying a lot of real estate, I just took action. I didn't think about it. But now that I kind of paused from buying real estate, I've been doing a lot of mental masturbation is what I call it, where I just think about doing it. But then like when you think about doing it, it feels like you're doing it, but you're not really doing it.
Yeah.
So it's actually less energy, less effort just to do the thing instead of think about doing the thing. So I've been trying to like hone myself down on that. So like you said, I try not to overcomplicate, like just literally do it as fast as you can. And don't overthink it. Like worst case, the guy's like doesn't even respond and says screw you. But I know the fact that because I have credibility, because I own an apartment there already, so they know I took down a deal. They know I have experience. So I know that like the ball's in my court in that sense. So I don't really think too much about it. But yeah, I try to do it like pretty fast because like you want to at least get your offer there, and then you just move on from the deal, or you just follow up in like 2-3 months.
Yeah. What about when you get like what about unknown numbers calling you? I don't. It seems it's related, but it sounds random. Do you pick like is your ringer always on? Do you pick up like on weekend or just when you're not at work?
Yeah, my phone's always on vibrate, to be honest. And if I don't recognize a number, my reflex is not to pick it up. And then if they're really serious, they'll either text me or leave me a voicemail. So like when I did my direct mail campaign, for example, like I would mail out letters, and I know the zip codes for Oklahoma City, roughly, assuming they're calling from Oklahoma City. But a lot of times, like you said, if they're serious, they'll leave you a voicemail. And whether I got a text, email, or voicemail, I always made an effort to, within 24 hours, respond, if not sooner. And if they text me and I'm busy at work, I'll just be like, hey, like I'm at work right now, but can I call you in like 15 minutes when I'm on my break?
Yep.
So as long as you respond, they know you're like a live person and you're not like some fake scam person as well.
Sure.
So you just have to like respond and then, live up to your follow up on what you respond with. So if I say I'm gonna follow up with you in 7 days with an offer, on day 7, you better give an offer or say, hey, sorry, I need more time.
Yeah.
Because my lender is doing X, Y, and Z. Because that's how you really build trust. And it's super discouraging. I like had a student, like it took him a year and a half to close on his first 7-plex in Texas. And I have a student where he was going strong for a while, but then he kind of lost motivation for the past couple of months. But that's just how it is. Like you just have to have the muscle of get the numbers, make your offer, make your creative offer. They're going to say no, follow up in like 2 months. And you do that for a long time, eventually you'll land a deal. And what's amazing about multifamily, Brian, as you know, you only need 1 or 2 of these deals to like change your life. That's it. So if knowing that, would you be okay making 1,000 offers and having 999 say no? If you get one that can change your life, that's what people don't realize. Yeah.
Something everyone has been decently friendly that I've reached out to as well. Like it honestly was actually only the first one that I like kind of stumbled through on the phone where I got a little bit of the like, kind of just a little bit of the cold shoulder thing. But since then, it hasn't really been that way. What does your message to your lender look like when so you get the T12, what does that message look like?
So like usually when I email my lender, I'll send them the T12 and the rent roll. And usually lenders, they'll ask you, what offer do you want to make? Even though they know, in reality, the lender has all the control because they're putting in most of the money in the deal. So I already did my NOI divide my cap rate. I say, hey, I'm thinking of offering this much. And of course, I know that they're going to accept what offer I make because it's going to hit the DSCSR. So it's a very simple email. Like I have like 2 mortgage brokers I work with. I work the BMO, a couple of people I just send the same email forward it
Yeah.
to multiple of them with the T12. And a lot of times they might want like my personal financial statement if I haven't done one recently. So I make sure I
Yeah.
have an updated one. They might want my real estate schedule owned. So like you just have all that like ready to go. And it's like usually like 4 documents I email them: the personal financial
Yeah.
statement, the real estate schedule owned, the rent and the rent roll. And then usually if they ask, they usually will ask like, oh, like what's the age of the property? What's the age of the roof?
Yeah.
You know, if they go more granular, have that there. Like once again, it's a really quick email. Like the lenders, you don't have to convince them. Like obviously, like if you did your own math already, like you know they're
Yeah.
gonna approve that deal all day. Like, I know
Yeah.
at the offer I'm making, they will lend it on it all day easily.
Yeah. Here's where I ran into it. So I've been leaning towards using, so I interviewed a bunch of small banks, and then I kind of found like I've been leaning towards using bridge debt to acquire it and then refinance out of the bridge into that. And so I emailed like one broker or one loan officer a pro forma, and I was like, hey, if I hit these, like, help me continue to just dial this in. If I hit these pro forma numbers, what would the cash out refinance look like for you? And he ended up sending back this really low number. And I was like, wait a minute, like, what am I missing here? And it was, what I was missing was I was all thinking in terms of like, I bumped the NOI by like $25,000. So that contributes to this much value add. Like, look at that. And he was still just looking that even the pro forma rents would still just match the DSCR. And so you hit the DSCR ceiling before you hit the LTV ceiling is something I had to, that math hit me in real time this last week.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're looking at like LA, the cap rates would be lower, right? So it's not gonna be as cash flowing. You know, LA is probably like a 4 or 5 cap or even less, versus like Oklahoma, it's like 8, 9, 10 cap potentially. So, but yeah, it's just really math. And then what's nice about the lender too is like they're also like your big brother over your shoulder, because if they're putting most of the money in the deal, so they want to make sure it's a good deal too, and the upside's
Yeah.
there. And I tell them like my plan is usually, so bridge debt, what you're doing is you're buying value add multifamily, where you're buying it, you're gonna fix it up, and whatever down payment you put in plus your renovation costs, that needs to be 75% of the new value that you're gonna force it to.
Yeah.
And that's how you do the perfect BRRRR strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what you're alluding to. And like you said, you're either limited by the debt service coverage ratio or, you know, whatever 75% is of the cash out refinance. So, but to your point, in this day and age, given higher interest rates and, you know, higher cap rates, lower values, you're limited by the debt service coverage ratio. So like, for example, my 26 unit apartment complex, you know, I bought for $500,000. I put $300,000 into it. I'm all in for $800,000. It's worth $1.6 million today. If I were to do a cash out refinance, my limiting factor, I can't pull out 75% of the value of 1.6. I can only pull up to maybe 50, 60% of that, which is still $800,000, which is like all my money.
Yep.
Right? Because they want to make sure that you have enough cash flow to still cover that new loan. And the loan's harder to cover if your interest rate is 8% versus 4%.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a limitation, but you know, it's still part of your net worth, right? So, but that's just kind of this environment. And it's kind of funny, like you said, the brokers are more responsive. So during COVID, brokers would never respond to you because they had so much deals. You could be a shitty broker, loan officer, and you'll get business. Today, right now, 2025, loan officers are hurting, realtors are hurting, and brokers are hurting. So what does that mean? They have more time for you. They're going to be nice for you. Like, I had a broker for a 50 unit in Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma, near my 20 unit. They would call me once a week if I didn't respond. And during COVID, that never happened. They wouldn't even pick up the phone, right? And then like if they did pick up the phone, they're like, give me an LOI. And then I would send an LOI. They just wouldn't even respond to that. And I knew that it just wasn't enough for them. So it's kind of funny how it shifted where now they're nice when they're a little bit, you know, times are tough for them.
Right.
But that's why I like, you know, my direct mail strategy when I'm more serious, because it works anytime. Because I'm just going straight to the seller, and I want to get to the seller before their expectations are so unrealistic in terms of price. Because I tell them, I'm like, I can take down this deal right now if you give me my price.
What makes the seller have the price that they have?
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's from my opinion, it's literally arbitrary. Like they just said, oh, I heard like a realtor friend of mine who like may sells 1 or 2 houses a year say, yeah, this thing might be worth like 2-3 million.
So are they not? So they don't know multifamily math, or like I don't get it. They don't. They just don't think about it in that way.
A lot of people that buy multifamily, like you're talking 5 to like 50 units, they're not sophisticated. They're typically a business owner. who's like in his upper 60s to 70s, and their CPA told him, hey, if you own real estate and you're married, you might qualify as a real estate professional status and you might have some nice tax write-offs. So a lot of these mom and pop owners, they don't have property management. They do their own property management. They do their own pest control. They do their own maintenance. The guy I bought my Toy unit from, he was a lawyer, owned a law firm. He did everything himself. And like, it's not scalable. And he hasn't raised rents in like 5 to 8 years, because why raise the rents? Because he owns the property free and clear. His tax basis, property tax basis, is low. He locked in great insurance rates, and he can rent it. He was renting it for $350, but market rent was $700. But he doesn't care, because like if it's a vacancy, it's more work for him, because he has to go there, clean up the property, show the property. So like he's not incentivized to like rock the boat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because of that, they just aren't sophisticated, right? Like you would think, like for me, I'm like, well, you always got to raise your rents, right? Because I think of it as like a business. Like you don't want to be too far below market rents. You want to be like, I like to be about maybe 5 to 10% below, so I have that little gap, right? To know that, hey, I want to be a little bit cheaper so people stay a little bit longer. If I have less turnover, it helps increase my NOI, actually.
Yeah.
So you have to treat it like a business, but like it's weird. Like what I learned is don't project your mindset to the seller's mindset. Like just because we're sophisticated doesn't mean they are. And a lot of times, like they just don't want to deal with a real estate agent or a broker. That's why they go to me. But if they go to a real estate agent or broker, to be honest, they could probably get a better price, but it may not be that much higher than what they're thinking, right? Like when I was selling my mobile home park, I have videos talking about it, ended up, losing 100K on it. But he was just like, oh yeah, like, you can sell this for like $2 million. And I was excited. I was like, oh, I would make $300,000 on this bad deal.
Yeah.
But after a while, he just had my expectations so high, and then later they just beat you down. And then I ended up selling for $1.5 million, losing $100,000 on it. Yeah. So a lot of times, brokers, I hate to say it, they might just like sell you some like, hey, you can sell it for $2 million, but then beat you down later. And because they're the middleman.
They also might not know though, also. Like,
True.
They just don't, they might not think like an operator either. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be ignorance. Like, the benefit of the doubt is they're just stupid and don't know, right? And but like, that's like once I start showing them the math, or I ask them like, well, how do you evaluate this property? And then they'll pause. Well, it's price per door. And I was just like, no, like lenders will underwrite it based on the income, not price per door.
Yeah.
Right. So that's and they'll just be like, oh shoot, because they're thinking residential.
What was the profile of the buyer that took that over from you?
My mobile home park. So it was an investor as well. And well, ironically, that person found me somehow, because I have a second lien position on the property.
Okay.
They fired the property manager that I had that sold it to them. And turns out that property manager, they were like stealing money, probably from me, stealing money from them. They weren't doing anything. They were paying bills that weren't even ours. Yeah. And they were upcharging, like giving themselves like money to like do renovations without telling us. They just bake it into the price. Like, oh, it's going to cost $1,000 to fix this mobile home. But they might give themselves a cut of like 200. Yeah. So now they're actually trying to sell it. But no, the profile of the person buying it is like an investor like me, where we're looking to buy it right. We're looking to increase the NOI by renovating units, adding more mobile home parks, and then doing that to increase the NOI, and then do a cash out refinance, pay off the first note, pay off the second note, pull a little extra money, pull out your renovation, and then move on. Like this mobile home park, I had it, if I was able to fill up all 200 lots from 30, it would have been worth $10 million. And I just would have finished it right around now, 4 years later. Yeah. Instead, I lost $100,000 2 years later. Right? Yeah. So, but that's the profile of someone. And because I'm an investor myself, I know like, okay, I want to be realistic to sell. So that's why I always say, if the seller is motivated, they'll work with you. Sure. But a lot of sellers say they're motivated, but I'm like, well, if you're truly motivated, well, how come you won't work with me? Like, hey, look, you want $1 million, I'm giving you 600. Let's maybe meet in the middle if it still makes sense. Or like, how can we make this make sense? Yeah. So it's like, you're almost like problem solving together. Like all the deals that I took down, it just felt like me and the seller were problem solving together. Yeah. To make sure it closed and to make sure that the deal is done. But what the sellers were like, they're just like, they don't respond. They're not truly serious. And that's why I tell my students too. I'm like, dude, don't be discouraged. Like, they're not that serious. They say they are. But their actions are not matching up with what they're saying. So make your offer, move on, and follow up in like 1 to 2 months. That's it. I already had one tell me that they weren't interested all through the broker. Like, I already had one tell me that they weren't interested in seller financing. And then
2 weeks later tell me, okay, they're interested in seller financing. Like, so that's a pretty fast, like, turnaround.
Sometimes you got to be beaten into seller financing. So
Yeah.
this is kind of the annoying thing about like it kind of ties in like leadership. Like you already know what the best solution is, but
Yeah.
you have to walk that seller or the broker into that solution.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know, and I already tell them like I can make a more aggressive offer if you're
Mm-hmm.
willing to do seller something creative with me. Whether you're carrying
Mm-hmm.
90% or 40%, my offer will be better.
Yeah.
And you can close faster because I don't have a bank for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 90% seller carry, there's no bank. You are the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I just get an inspection. If everything checks out, we close escrow in like 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
You sell the deal, I get the deal.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do 50-40-10, maybe a little bit longer. If you want to do a conventional loan, takes even longer, right? At
Yeah.
least 90 days to close on this deal,
Yeah.
assuming nothing major happens. It's just really, like I said, and a lot of times I'll make multiple offers. Like I usually submit two or three LOIs simultaneously because I want to show them the
Mm-hmm.
difference between
Mm-hmm.
this is my conventional offer,
Mm-hmm.
this is my 50-40-10 offer, and this is my 90% seller carry offer.
Do you write your contingencies into your LOI? I've
Yeah.
never done an LOI yet, or I started to watch LOI videos yet.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm happy to give you my template. It's just a one pager, but like yeah, in the mentorship program, I just have a 1 page template, and literally it's very simple. The point of LOI is as simple as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
here's my offer. Here's my earnest money deposit. I have like 3 business days to give you that earnest money deposit. Here's the escrow company the title company that will hold it in. You can pick it. I can pick it. I don't care. Right.
Mm-hmm.
My financial and due diligence is about 60 days typically. And I have 30 days for the loan contingency after that. So it's 90 days total.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually bake in the fact that, well, it's 60 days, assuming that you give me documents timely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like if you take 30 days to give me my documents,
Yeah.
like I'm going to ask for an extension.
Yeah.
And the lenders will always ask for more stuff too. Like when they underwrite the deal, they're going to ask you a lot of questions that they have to tell you, the seller has to tell you. If they don't respond timely, then